everyone who comes to live in apartment 85 will inexplicably die. I pray for their souls.
In the 1980s, a series of strange events occurred in Soviet Ukraine. No one knew why, but all who would come to live in Unit 85 of Building 7 in Kramatorsk would mysteriously get very, very sick. Spontaneous bleeding, random bruises, headaches, memory loss, and confusion. Doctors could not figure out what was going on and blamed the symptoms on natural causes. In the vacuum of information, rumors began circulating that this apartment was cursed. Over the next few years, the helpless residents of Unit 85 all began dying one by one, until one man, with one son already dead and his remaining son in critical condition, decided enough was enough. It would take 10 years for someone to finally solve the mystery. In that time, Unit 85 would go on to kill a total of 6 people and severely disable 17 others. In this video, I'll walk you through this true story. Despite the incident garnering national attention, very few actual details exist on what the residents actually went through. In fact, the names of the victims do not appear to be available online. With these limitations, I'll piece together the details as best as I can and give you a fictionalized first-person account of this tragedy. As details of the case are unveiled, comment what you think may be going on. If you are new here, welcome. I'm a board-certified doctor with both a medical degree from Yale and an undergraduate degree from Harvard. This entire channel is dedicated to improving health literacy through the telling of interesting stories. If that sounds appealing to you at all, then please subscribe and hit the notification bell.
Dear Diary, oh how excited I feel today. We've been on the government housing list for years, waiting, crammed in our little Khrushchev slum, waiting for a miracle. Oh, how I miss our little village in Druzhba. But today is not a day for nostalgia. Today we look forward and celebrate. My children are already busy moving our belongings into, what was the address again? Apartment 85, Building 7. How could I forget? I need to remember this number because this is our home now. Thank you, Comrade Brezhnev, for your generosity. I will remember it till the day I die. How blessed am I? We have hot water, a central water supply, even an elevator. From the window, I can hear the Olympic music starting. The world is in our backyard and never have I been more hopeful. Glory to the Soviet Union. Elena, July 22nd, 1980.
Elena and her family had been on the official government housing waiting list for years. As luck would have it, they were selected to live in Unit 85 of Building 7, a newly constructed apartment block in the city of Kramatorsk. In the Soviet Union, housing in the cities belonged to the government and were distributed by city authorities. Tenants had no choice in what they were offered, but were given generous subsidies for rent and utilities. The 1980 Olympics had just begun. It was a priority of USSR government to show the entire world how much the country cared for the average Soviet citizen and how they deserved modern, comfortable housing, not just communal barracks. The rush to construct this apartment in time for the Summer Olympics would later prove to be a very costly and fatal mistake.
Dear Diary, though I am trying my best to be grateful for my home, something strange is happening here. I cannot quite put my finger on it, but every time I am here, I feel a great heaviness on my chest and a dark cloud in my heart. My mood is sour, but I do not know why. I see it in Henry as well. He seems more fatigued and uninterested in things. My eldest, Anna, appears to be most affected. She stays in her room all day and barely eats anything at all. I made her favourite borscht, but she just picks at it. Maybe the move-in has been harder on us than we thought. We'll encourage them again tomorrow. Glory to the Soviet Union. Elena, October 5th, 1980.
As the days turned to months, more odd things began to happen. Her daughter's appetite had not returned, and she was getting visibly thinner. Her skin, once rosy and smooth, now hung dry and taut over her face like a worn-out dress meant to be replaced long ago. Who is going to marry you when you look like this? Eat, child, her mother commanded. And so, being the dutiful daughter, she obeyed. At night, Elena began to hear quiet sobs coming from somewhere deep in the apartment. Curiously, as long as she listened, the sobs would continue undisturbed. But the moment she went to investigate, they would immediately disappear. Spooked, she didn't know what to do. Checking all around the apartment, she found nothing. Her children were all asleep.
Dear Diary, I do not know what is going on, but I feel as if we are being watched. The sobs at night have turned into sounds I cannot even describe. Sometimes it sounds like whispers. Other times I hear banging. Is someone trying to tell us something? Is something crawling in the walls? Whoever or whatever it is, please stop. This is our home. Are we not supposed to feel safe here? Do you want us to leave? But why? Have we not been good comrades to the regime? Keep on watching us if you must. You will see soon we have nothing to hide. Elena, January 23rd, 1981.
Elena concluded that her neighbors were spying on her. Though initially welcoming, they were now strangely distant and cold. It felt as if they were all avoiding her. The hallway to her apartment were always oddly empty, and other areas of the complex far away from her apartment. The neighbors there all appeared to know each other well. That side of the apartment appeared to be teeming with happiness, with energy, with life. She did not dwell on this fact because her children continued to deteriorate. Truth be told, she did not feel that well herself either, but her nausea was minor compared to Anna's thinning hair and the mysterious bruises on her son, despite him suffering no apparent traumatic injury. Her friends told her the bruisings were the mark of the devil. The building was built on a church forcibly torn down to make space. The USSR was not a religious state after all. It was common for the Communist Party to confiscate religious property and systematically destroy places of worship, part of a government-sponsored program to convert everyone to atheism. Despite this, her friends urged her. It was bad to continue living here without a proper exorcism. And so, not wanting to draw any attention from the Soviet government, the holy man came to their apartment discreetly, in the dead of night and under the cover of darkness. The lights were intentionally kept off as he entered the apartment with a single lit candle. Stepping inside over the threshold, he immediately sensed a palpable dread in the environment. The candle illuminated the gaunt faces of the family who were closely huddled together in apprehension. As he walked around them, he began chanting from memory, prayers just barely audible in a feeble attempt to cleanse the space without angering the dark spirits he sensed all around him. The candlelight danced around, casting long dark shadows on the walls all around them. Curiously, the more the man chanted, the more aberrantly the shadows moved and soon appeared to take on a life of its own, transforming into unspeakable horrors, mutating from faceless shapes to human-like figures contorted in tortured configurations. The holy man began to chant louder and circled around the family at a quicker pace. Sensing a new disturbance, he falters. "I need more strength," he screams inside his head. Abruptly stopping and closing his eyes, he raises his arm in defiance and unclasps the holy water from his belt, readying it above his head. The 5 seconds of silence hung in the air like a blazing flash of lightning, thunderous as it was deafening. It was at this very moment that clarity struck him. Realizing the truth of this desecrated ground, his grip weakens, dropping the holy water. Crashing to the ground, the vessel shatters. The family, in a trance, awakens and looks up in horror, following the gaze of the holy man to a curious spot on the wall they've never noticed before. There, in the dark corner of Anna's room, where a carpet is hung, they notice a small burnt spot for the very first time. It was as if the devil himself was silently perched there this entire time, his single eye staring at them right through that very hole. In just 3 more months from that exact day, Anna would be the first member of the family to die.
Dear Diary, my heart has been torn apart, my dearest Anna taken from me. Cursed be the devil that torments us in our home. I've pleaded with the government, but they've ignored us, saying they have nowhere else to move us to. No one believes me when I say this place is damned. I fear time is running out for my Henri. He is now getting weaker by the day too. The bruises on his body have turned into dreadful leaking blisters of fluid and pus. Some of them have rubbed off and leave behind never-healing painful ulcers. It is all I can do to dress and soothe his sores, but alas, I feel that I am coming to the end of my strength. The doctor is spouting nonsense and saying Henri has cancer too, that this is a problem with our genetics, that there is nothing he can do. I find that strange because Henri is but a young boy and no one in our family has ever had issues like these before. It is sad to say, but no one but the holy man believes me when I say it, is this wretched apartment. After that first visit, he says the evil here is too strong. He refuses to come back to complete the exorcism and recommends I abandon this God-forsaken place too. But where can I go? We have no other option. As my son and I grow weaker by the day, we become even more trapped. Like a spider web that has caught its prey, this place delights in our futile struggle. Elena. November 13th, 1981.
In a few more months, Henry would die as well. Now, alone in the apartment, Elena looks back on the past 2 years and laughs at how stupidly hopeful she was when she moved in. She once had a happy family. Staring into the darkness and focusing her gaze on no one in particular, she begins to write one final letter.
Dear comrade, the terrors of this place are documented in this diary, laid bare for all to witness, so they do not think yourself crazy as they have for me. If you are reading this, that means I'm now gone. Witnessing the slow and painful death of your children will change you. I feel nothing now except for my flushed palms, constantly possessed by a never-ending cycle of burning and tingling. It is as if the devil himself holds my hands, drawing me nearer, preventing me from ever leaving his hellfire. I pray my end will finally bring some peace. I don't know what is going on here, but heed my warning, comrade. Get out while you can. The walls have been erected not to keep you safe, but to trap you in. If you stay, something terrible is going to happen. May the devil living here be kind to you, because God will not. Love, Elena. May 28th, 1982.
That was the last entry of a diary Alexei had found nestled deep in the cracks of the walls of his new apartment. He was told very little about the previous occupants of this place, but only that a mysterious opening had come up in an apartment which was supposedly in pristine condition. Go to Unit 85 in Building 7, comrade. It's now yours. The official government letter said nothing more. Not wanting to look a gift horse in the mouth, he moved right in, ignoring the rumors of a cursed apartment spreading through the city. As the father of 2 boys, he jumped at the opportunity to move his kids out of District 15, a cramped and squalid room shared with several others. The older son was given the private nursery. His bed tucked right below the far wall, a dreary gray slab of concrete that would have been utterly uninteresting save for the old carpet draped over the wall. As the diary predicted, his son began manifesting odd symptoms. It began with the terrible dreams in the dead of night, waking up feverish, drenched in sweat, mumbling about odd noises and the persistent ringing of the ears. As time went on, the boy began complaining of daily pain throughout his body. A month later, it was only when he began spontaneously bleeding from his gums and nostrils while his other son experienced bloody diarrhea that he decided enough was enough. The doctor reported that both of his son's bloodlines were dangerously low. Red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets too. With such low clotting factors, the body can spontaneously bruise and bleed. After a few more tests, the diagnosis of leukemia was made, a terrible blood cancer. Given the severity of the boy's symptoms, it appeared these cancerous cells had already spread. They'd filled the boy's livers and spleens until the organs were bulging painfully inside their abdomens, traversing from the bone to the lymph nodes and finally to the brain as well. In a few short months, one son would die and the other one would remain in critical condition. Perplexed and in great despair, the man remembered the diary and realized that this very disease had afflicted the previous occupants as well. Refusing to believe in coincidences, the father pushed the city to investigate, citing the improbability of what was happening. Around the same time, other neighbors of Unit 85 had begun to complain of odd symptoms as well. As more affected parties came out of the woodwork, city officials had no choice but to investigate. What they would later come to uncover would be featured in every single newspaper in the country. At the start, specialists arrived with a plan to take air samples and probe around. Upon arriving at Unit 85's front door, their sensitive instruments were already reading shockingly abnormal values. Realizing the implications of what was inside, the men refused to go further. Panicking, they abandoned the premises and notified authorities from the headquarters of Civil Defense. It was at this point that the situation finally garnered the seriousness it deserved. Government men arrived, now decked out in lead armor and specialized reinforced plating. While they prepped to enter Unit 85, others began traversing the complex from floor to floor, urgently knocking on apartment doors with a short but blood-curdling message.
Evacuate your homes immediately. It is no longer safe to live here.
As the men broke into Unit 85, their instruments started throbbing out of control. Entering the bedroom of the son that had recently passed, the alarm bells ratcheted even higher. Surveying the room, the instruments indicated that the source was coming from the wall next to the boy's bed. Wasting no time, the men scanned the wall from top to bottom and quickly zeroed in on the culprit, the curious burn-shaped hole in the carpet draped right over the wall. This wall was immediately torn down and brought to a nearby factory laboratory where it was taken apart piece by piece. In one of those pieces, a tiny metal ampule 8mm by 4mm, no bigger than a human fingernail, slipped out from the crumbling cement. On it was a series of numbers. Puzzled, the scientists ran it through their databases and realized something truly awful. The tiny numbers were geographic markers and tagged the tiny ampule to a place the Soviet government had long tried to cover up. To understand the significance of this ampule, I take you back to the 1970s. In the rush to construct the Olympics and showcase the might of the USSR, the Karansky stone quarry was overtaxed by an unrelenting schedule to supply high-quality stone. It just so happens that a device used by miners to measure the density of stone is powered by a similar tiny metal ampule, a component all miners know to handle with the utmost of care because even accidental contact can cause severe burns. In the intense pressure, one such device unknowingly falls into the gravel somewhere and is never found again. A half-hearted search ensues for just 1 week before it is called off, in which production is quickly resumed once again. Rumor has it that the stone from the quarry was initially intended for the construction of Olympic structures deep in the heart of Moscow, but was later redirected due to the dangerous missing device. And so, because the rapidly constructed apartment complexes designed to show off communism's prosperity also required stone, the supply from the quarry was quietly diverted. Over time, most had forgotten this incident had even happened, and thus, in the wall of Building 7, in apartment number 85, in the nursery, directly behind the burned hole in the carpet draped over the wall, buried in the cement panel, this tiny metal ampule came to be. Perched quietly in the corner like a poisonous spider, it patiently waited over 10 years for its victims. And from its metal thorax, pure death and destruction poured out, invisibly infecting all in its radius with one of the worst ways to suffer imaginable: radiation poisoning. For this tiny ampule was none other than cesium-137, a highly radioactive element that emits both gamma and beta rays with a half-life of 30 years. Standing within 1 meter of the capsule is equivalent to receiving 10 X-rays per hour. Sleep next to it in a comfy bed every night for years on end, and you can see how quickly the radiation piles up. To put this into perspective, 2 of the biggest cesium-137 contaminations happened in none other than the 2 worst nuclear disasters in history: Chernobyl and Fukushima. The ionizing radiation of cesium-137 does not discriminate. It damages your DNA, your RNA, your proteins and cells, and produces free radicals that destroy your body further. As mutations build, your skin falls off and your bone marrow decays. Thus, metastatic cancers, infections, and spontaneous bleeding become part of your daily existence. In the aftermath of this disaster, Building 7 was abandoned. Though authorities had officially given it the all clear, nobody ever wanted to live there again. I can't blame them, because think about it. Imagine going to bed after a long day, thinking you're now in the safest and most cozy spot possible in the entire universe, i.e. your bed, and as you drift off to sleep, you begin having wonderful dreams of fuzzy unicorns and dandelions floating in the blue sky, only to realize you've actually been sleeping next to a leaking nuclear reactor, a situation so bad that sleeping under a roach-infested bridge next to literal rotten garbage would have actually been better for your health. Yeah, no kidding. At any rate, if you enjoyed today's horror-themed medical story, comment below, and I'll do more dramatizations of bizarre true events. If you want more medical horror stories right now, here are 2 I think you'll enjoy. One is about a girl who accidentally infects her brain with parasites after taking internet diet pills, and the other is about a mysterious disease that drives victims literally insane. Links in the description. As always, please like, share, and subscribe to Spoon Fed Med. Studies show that hitting the subscribe button makes you 2 times more likely to get radioactive superpowers. Until next time, my friends, stay humble, stay healthy, stay fresh. Peace.